The crimson moon hung low over the wasteland, casting eerie shadows across the barren ground where Kira lay motionless. Her silver-blue skin had turned ashen, mottled with dark veins that spoke of the wasting sickness consuming her from within. The ceremonial exile marks still burned fresh on her forehead, 3 parallel lines that branded her as the Komori, the Forsaken One. Her clan had carried her here at dawn, beyond the protective barriers of their settlement, and left her with nothing but a thin cloth covering her frail body. Elder Voron's words still echoed in her fevered mind. The sickness has chosen you, child. To keep you among us would doom us all. The spirits demand your sacrifice. Kira's breathing came in shallow gasps. Each inhale felt like swallowing shards of ice. Each exhale a struggle against the darkness creeping at the edges of her vision. She was 19 cycles old, barely an adult by her people's standards, yet here she lay dying like a discarded animal. Her bioluminescent markings, once bright indicators of her emotional state, had dimmed 2 barely visible flickers along her arms and neck. The sound of approaching footsteps made her force her eyes open. Had her clan returned to ensure her death? Through her blurred vision, she saw a tall figure silhouetted against the alien constellations above. But this wasn't one of her people. The shape was wrong, too broad and lacking the elongated limbs. Of her species, Marcus Thorne stopped when he saw her, his weathered face creasing with shock. The human trader had been traveling these routes for 15 years, but he'd never encountered one of the Ashkari people lying abandoned in the wastes. His pack clinked softly as he knelt beside her, noting the exile marks and the telltale signs of crimson plague disease that had been decimating settlements across 3 sectors. "Don't touch, ... Kira whispered, her voice barely audible above the wind. "Cursed, ... dying, ... Marcus studied her face, seeing not a diseased outcast, but a young woman fighting desperately to live. Her large violet eyes held depths of pain and resignation that reminded him of his own sister, dead now 5 years from a plague the human colonies couldn't cure. "I've survived worse than curses," he said quietly, sliding his arms beneath her. Fragile form. She weighed almost nothing, her body consuming itself in its battle against the disease. As he lifted her, Kira's head rolled against his chest, and she felt the steady rhythm of his heart, yet somehow comforting. "Why?" she managed to ask. "Because leaving you here would make me no better than those who abandoned you," Marcus replied, adjusting his grip to better support her. The trek to his shelter would take 2 hours across treacherous terrain, but he'd carried wounded soldiers further in worse conditions. Behind them, hidden observers from Kira's clan watched in amazement and horror as the human disappeared into the night with their discarded daughter. Elder Voron's mandibles clicked in disapproval. "The Outlander seals his own fate," he muttered. "The sickness will claim them both." But Marcus pressed onward, feeling Kira's shallow breathing against his neck and the faint warmth of her bioluminescent patterns pulsing weakly in rhythm with her heartbeat. Whatever consequences awaited him, he couldn't live with the image of her dying alone in the dirt, forgotten by those who should have protected her. Marcus's shelter sat carved into a cliff face, hidden from casual discovery by overhanging rock formations. Inside, bioluminescent fungi he'd cultivated provided gentle illumination, while thermal vents kept the space warm. He laid Kira on his sleeping pallet, noting how her breathing had grown more labored during the journey. Her condition worsened over the first 3 days. The Crimson Plague attacked Ashkari's physiology differently than human diseases. Their dual cardiovascular system made traditional treatments useless. Marcus watched helplessly as fever ravaged her body, her skin shifting between burning hot and ice cold. He tried everything in his medical supplies, but nothing seemed to help. On the 4th morning, desperation drove him to attempt something unprecedented. He'd noticed that Ashkari technology often incorporated symbiotic elements, so he began introducing carefully diluted samples of beneficial human gut bacteria into her system. It was pure guesswork, but her people's exile suggested they'd given up on conventional cures. The breakthrough came gradually. Kira's fever began breaking in cycles, and her bioluminescent markings started showing faint responses to stimuli. By the second week, she could keep down the nutrient broths Marcus prepared from his emergency rations mixed with edible local flora. "Your body is learning to fight," Marcus told her one evening as she managed to sit upright for the first time. Her violet eyes had regained some of their clarity, though she remained painfully thin. "I should be dead," Kira whispered, flexing her fingers and watching the pale light pulse beneath her skin. "The Dekmori never recover, it is known." Marcus handed her a warm cup of broth. "Maybe your people were wrong about what's possible." Before she could respond, the sound of approaching vehicles echoed off the canyon walls. Marcus grabbed his rifle as 3 hover sleds bearing Ashkari clan markings descended toward his shelter. Elder Vorin emerged from the lead vehicle, his tall frame draped in ceremonial robes, flanked by 6 warriors in tactical armor. Human Vorin's translator device rendered his clicking speech into accented standard. "You harbored death itself. Return the cursed one so we may complete the ritual cleansing." Marcus stepped between the aliens and his shelter entrance. "She's recovering. Your cursed one is going to live." Vorin's mandibles spread in what might have been amusement or disdain. "Impossible. The sickness has claimed her. What you see is merely the final flare before extinction, like a dying star's last light." "Then why are you here?" Marcus challenged. "If she's dying anyway, why do you need her back?" The elder's silence stretched long enough that his warriors shifted uncomfortably. Finally, Vorin spoke again. "There are ... protocols. The spirits demand proper completion of the exile." From inside the shelter, Kira's voice carried weakly but clearly. "I choose to stay with the one who saved me." Vorin's eyes narrowed, his bioluminescent patches flaring angry orange. "You have no choice in this, Dekmori. You ceased to exist the moment we carried you to the wastes." Marcus raised his rifle. "She exists to me. That's enough." The standoff lasted several tense minutes before Vorin signaled his warriors to withdraw. "Keep her then, human, and the final darkness claims you both. Remember that we offered mercy." The hover sleds lifted away, disappearing into the evening sky. Inside the shelter, Marcus found Kira trembling not from fever this time, but from emotion. "They truly hate what I've become," she said. "You've become a survivor," Marcus replied. Settling beside her, "Sometimes that's the most dangerous thing of all." 3 months passed like a slow dance of recovery and discovery. Kira's strength returned gradually, though she would never match the physical capabilities of healthy Ashkari. Her bioluminescent patterns had permanently changed, creating new configurations that scholars might have found fascinating had they been willing to study a former Vekmori. Marcus taught her to navigate the human technology in his shelter, the water recyclers, food synthesizers, and communication arrays. In return, she shared knowledge of her people's biotechnology, showing him how to cultivate the healing fungi and modify his equipment using organic interfaces. Their conversations stretched deep into the alien nights. Kira spoke of her childhood. Before the sickness of dreams to become a bioengineer bridging the gap between technology and living systems, Marcus shared stories of his travels, the colonies he'd visited, and the sister whose death had driven him to the frontier's edge. "Your heart carries pain like mine," Kira observed one evening, her hand resting over his chest as they sat by the thermal vent. Her touch sent unexpected warmth through him, not just physical, but something deeper. "Grief finds us all eventually," Marcus replied, covering her hand with his own. Her skin felt different now than during her illness warmer. More responsive, the bioluminescent veins pulsing gently beneath his palm. The moment stretched between them, heavy with unspoken possibilities. When their eyes met, Marcus saw something that made his breath catch not gratitude or dependence, but genuine affection. The kind that grew slowly, rooted in shared struggle and mutual respect. When they kissed, her lips tasted like the sweet mineral water from the deeper springs. Her bioluminescent markings flared brighter, painting their skin in soft azure light. What followed was tender and careful. 2 different species learning the geography of each other's bodies with patient exploration. Neither expected anything permanent to come from their union. Their biologies were too different. The universe, too vast and uncertain. But 3 weeks later, As Kira knelt beside the shelter's waste recycler, feeling nauseated for the third consecutive morning, a terrible possibility began to form. The nearest settlement with proper medical facilities was 2 days' travel by hoverbike. Marcus made the journey with Kira wrapped in thermal blankets, her condition stable but concerning. The human outpost of Redemption Station served as a trading hub for multiple species. Its medical bay equipped to handle basic ex-no by OLOGY. Dr. Tessa Nakamura, the station's chief medical officer, had seen many strange cases in her 20 years on the frontier. But when the bioscanners revealed the cellular activity in Kira's womb, she stared at the readings in stunned silence. "This shouldn't be possible," Tessa finally said, turning to face the unlikely couple. "Your genetic structures are completely incompatible. Different base proteins, different cellular organization, different everything." Marcus felt his world tilt. "But the scans show a developing embryo that's somehow bridging the gap between your species," Tessa interrupted. "It's creating entirely new biological pathways. If this pregnancy continues to term, you'll have a child unlike anything documented in xenobiological literature." Kira's bioluminescent markings pulsed in complex patterns, fear, wonder, and fierce protectiveness swirling together. "Is it ... Will it be healthy?" Tessa's expression softened. "I honestly don't know. But from what I can see, the fetus is developing normally according to its own unique parameters. Your body is adapting to support it in ways that frankly defy our understanding of reproductive biology." Marcus took Kira's hand, squeezing gently. "What do you want to do?" Her answer came without hesitation. "I want our child to live." Word of the impossible pregnancy spread through the frontier's communication networks like wildfire. Within days of their return from Redemption Station, Marcus's encrypted channels buzzed with messages from xenobiologists, government officials, and less savory individuals interested in acquiring unique specimens. The first serious threat arrived on a sleek, stealth ship that bypassed the canyon's sensor network entirely. Nexus stepped from the vessel's shadow to form a disturbing blend of multiple species' cybernetic arms grafted onto a reptilian torso. With sensor arrays replacing his original eyes, he was a bounty hunter specializing in genetic anomalies. And Kira's hybrid pregnancy represented the score of a lifetime. Marcus Thorne, Nexus's voice, carried the mechanical precision of vocal implants. "You harbor valuable property. Surrender the Ashkari female and her developing offspring, and you may continue your insignificant existence." Marcus emerged from his shelter armed with more than just his rifle. Kira had taught him to integrate Ashkari bioweapons with his human technology. The energy field surrounding his position hummed with organic defenses. "She's not property. Neither is their child." Nexus's mechanical laugh echoed off the canyon walls. "Sentiment. How quaint. The Genetic Purity Council has placed a substantial bounty on specimens of interspecies hybridization. Your attachment to the female is irrelevant. The battle was brief, but vicious." Nexus's cybernetic enhancements gave him speed and strength, beyond human limits, but Marcus fought with the desperation of a man protecting his family. The bioweapons Kira had grown for him responded to his emotional state, creating defensive barriers that adapted to each attack. In the end, it was Kira herself who ended the threat. Emerging from the shelter despite Marcus's protests, she interfaced directly with the canyon's fungal network, turning the entire ecosystem against the intruder. Nexus retreated to his ship as acidic spores ate through his armor, his parting words a promise of return. "Others will come," Marcus said, helping Kira back inside as her bioluminescent markings flickered with exhaustion. "I know," she replied, one hand protectively covering her growing belly. "But we cannot run forever. Our child deserves better than a life in hiding." Their salvation came from an unexpected source. Sheriff James Boyd of Redemption Station arrived the next day, his official hovercar bearing territorial authority markings. The grizzled lawman had served the frontier for 30 years, seeing every form of prejudice and exploitation the outer colonies could produce. "It's got reports of an unauthorized bounty hunter in my jurisdiction," Boyd said, accepting Marcus's offer. "Of coffee, Nexus has outstanding warrants in 3 systems. Genetic trafficking, mostly." Marcus studied the sheriff's weathered face. You know why he was here? I know a lot of things, Boyd replied. Know that Dr. Nakamura has been getting pressure from Colonial Health Authority to surrender her medical data on your partner. Know that certain factions would like to see your child dissected in the name of science. Kira's markings pulsed with alarm, but Boyd raised a reassuring hand. Also know that territorial law protects residents from unauthorized genetic sampling. Your child will be a citizen of Redemption Station, with all the rights that entails. And when the Genetic Purity Council sends official requests? Marcus asked. Boyd's smile was hard as steel. Territorial governance supersedes colonial authority. In matters of citizen protection, if your family is under my jurisdiction, and I don't take kindly to outsiders threatening my people. For the first time in weeks, Marcus felt something approaching hope. Against the canyon's bioluminescent glow, he knew their struggles were far from over. Their child would be born into a universe where difference was often seen as threat, where love could be branded as contamination. Still, it found allies willing to stand with them. It was more than either had dared dream when they first met in the wasteland's dying light. The birth took place in Dr. Nakamura's specially prepared medical bay, Sheriff Boyd's deputies maintaining security outside. Kira's labor lasted 18 hours, her body working through biological processes no medical text had ever described. Marcus never left her side, his hand intertwined with hers as her bioluminescent. Patterns shifted through the entire spectrum in waves of pain and determination. When their daughter finally emerged, the room fell silent. Zara was unmistakably beautiful. Her skin held the subtle blue, undertones of her mother's people, while maintaining human proportions, and her eyes were large and violet like Kira's, but with distinctly human expressiveness. Most remarkably, she bore bioluminescent markings that pulsed in perfect synchronization with her heartbeat. She's magnificent, Dr. Nakamura whispered, running preliminary scans. Her cellular structure is completely stable, not a hybrid grafting, but a true synthesis. She's created entirely new biological pathways. As if responding to the attention, baby Zara opened her eyes and looked directly at Marcus. The bioluminescent patterns on her tiny arms flared bright gold color, neither parent species, typically, displayed. When she grasped his finger, Marcus felt a strange tingling sensation, as if her touch carried an electric current. She's telepathically sensitive, Kira breathed, recognizing the sensation from her own people's latent abilities. But stronger than any pure-blood Ashkari. The weeks following Zara's birth brought unexpected visitors. Dr. Elena Webb, a xenobiologist, from the inner systems, arrived with official credentials and a proposition that surprised everyone. She'd spent decades studying interspecies relationships and had been tracking reports of successful hybridization. Your daughter isn't an anomaly, Dr. Webb explained during their first meeting. She's the leading edge of what I believe is evolutionary destiny. There are others children born of unions between species that should theoretically be incompatible. They're developing abilities neither parent species possesses. Marcus held Zara protectively as the scientist spoke. At 3 months old, his daughter could already manipulate the bioluminescent fungi in the shelter, making them pulse in complex patterns that seemed almost like communication. What are you suggesting? He asked. Sanctuary, Dr. Webb replied. There's a hidden settlement in the Kepler Reachhaven colony. It was founded specifically to protect interspecies families and study the unique abilities their children develop. Zara would grow up surrounded by others like her. The decision wasn't easy. Marcus had grown attached to his canyon shelter, and Kira found peace in the place where she'd recovered from her illness. But as reports reached them of increasing Genetic Purity Council raids on frontier settlements, the choice became clear. Sheriff Boyd personally escorted them to the hidden hyperspace route that led to Haven Colony. As they boarded the transport ship, he pressed a data pad into Marcus's hands, legal documents establishing Zara's citizenship in 17 different systems, he explained. Whatever abilities she develops, she'll have legal protection. Haven Colony exceeded their expectations. Built within a massive asteroid that had been hollowed out and terraformed, it housed nearly 3,000 residents representing dozens of species combinations. Children played in the common area, some with wings, others with multiple arms. many displaying abilities that would be considered miraculous elsewhere. "Welcome home," said Administrator Chen Yuki herself, the daughter of a human and a crystalline-based silicon species. "Here, being different is just being yourself." Zara thrived in the colony's accepting environment. By her first birthday, she could communicate telepathically with both her parents and had begun showing an intuitive understanding of biological systems that amazed the colony's researchers. She could coax plants to grow faster, soothe injured animals with a touch, and her bioluminescent patterns had developed into a complex language all her own. One evening, as the colony's artificial sunset painted the sky in gentle hues, Marcus and Kira sat watching their daughter play with other hybrid children. Zara's laughter echoed across the garden as she made flowers bloom with rainbow colors, her joy infectious among her playmates. "Do you ever regret it?" Kira asked, her head resting on Marcus's shoulder. "Saving me that night? It's all the complications it brought." Marcus considered the question seriously. Watching Zara teach a young Zentari human hybrid how to make the bioluminescent vines dance. "I regret nothing," he said finally. "You were dying alone, and now look, we have a daughter who might help bridge the gaps between species. We found love in the most impossible circumstances." Kira's markings pulsed soft blue, contentment, and deep affection. "The elders were wrong about many things, but mostly they were wrong about what makes someone worthy of life." As night fell over Haven Colony, the three of them walked home together, a family forged from compassion. Strengthened by adversity and blessed with a future neither parent could have imagined. Zara skipped between them, her bioluminescent patterns lighting their way like living stars. A symbol of hope in a universe slowly learning that difference could be beautiful rather than threatening. In the end, Marcus's choice to save one discarded life had created something unprecedented, not just a child, but a bridge between worlds, a living proof that love could transcend the boundaries others tried to build. Their story would be told for generations in Haven Colony, a reminder that sometimes the most profound changes begin with a single act of compassion in humanity's darkest hour.